Hi, this is Jen and thanks for joining me. Today I am doing a 4 cards, 1 sheet video. So I will be making 4 cards in total from one sheet of 9x12 Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I've already gone ahead and marked off 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 with my pencil just so that I know where one card ends and another begins. And so these are just the panels that will be attached to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. The stamps that I'm going to be using, or the materials that I'm going to be using, are Season to Sparkle by Honeybee Stamps, along with the matching die set. And then I do actually throw in a few other stamp sets for the inside of the card sentiment. And then I'm going to use the Honeybee Stamps Snowfall stencil for the background. And I don't know if this is any quicker. I like to think that it is, just because I'm doing all of them at once, but it might not be. So basically all I'm going to do is take my blending brush, and I tried to use a bigger one, but not the biggest size. So this is kind of the one size down from the biggest brush that I have. And the 2 ink colors that I'm going to be using today for these cards are Seedless Preserves and Mowed Lawn, and this is the Distress Oxide inks. And so I'm taking the Mowed Lawn first and just blending it out, not in really any kind of organized manner, I guess. I do on all of the cards leave a little bit of white space at the bottom, but I'm not really, combining 2 colors or anything like that. It's just one color for each panel basically. So we'll have 2 cards that'll have a pink background, or this is actually purple, but it looks more pink, and then 2 cards that have that green background. So I'm grabbing the stencil, and this is a 6x6 stencil, and I'm using this Creative Expressions metallic gilding polish, and the color I'm using is called Enchanted Gold. And whenever I get the polish out to use it again after I've previously used it, I always kind of wet it down lightly and then run my finger over it, because that loosens up whatever particles that I didn't get cleaned off from last time. And I clean them every time. It's just sometimes a little bit of the product will get stuck in there and then it gets hard. So when you try and use it, if you don't kind of prep it, I guess, for the next use, when you use it, it will slide across the whatever you're doing instead of cleanly going on. And so I always take the sponge and just spritz it and then just rub my thumb over it to loosen that up, and then it works really well. So all I'm doing is I'm just very lightly rubbing. I am not putting a lot of product. I was going to take like a spatula and just swipe it over, and I didn't want it super thick, and so that's why I'm just lightly going over. But I noticed that when I was doing this, I was getting the ink on my sponge, and so then I ended up kind of dabbing it a little bit, and then also running it kind of just down the stencil, which kind of leaves a little bit of a streak marks, especially on the bigger snowflakes. And so I love pulling up the stencil and seeing just the beautiful effect that the gilding polish leaves. It is just so pretty. This color is just gorgeous against these backgrounds, and I just really like that. It's got a metallic kind of shine to it, but it's not like that really deep gold color. So I like that it's kind of a little more subtle and not so kind of coppery gold, I guess. I don't know. But the 6x6 stencil doesn't fit, obviously, on, it's not big enough to fit on both. If you had a bigger stencil, you could totally just do one entire panel, or maybe even the whole thing. I know Dress My Craft has like those big stencil patterns that you could just use one stencil and do the whole thing, but I did move it. So for the top, I just moved it twice. For the bottom, I was experimenting a little bit to see how the snowflake pattern would end up. So I placed it in the middle first, and then went ahead and moved it to the left and the right side to fill in the rest of the snowflakes. I don't think it really matters how you do it if you have the size of stencil. But the stencil in its own is just a really pretty stencil as well from Honeybee Stamps. And again, the stencil is called Snowfall. And so the gilding polish, it's put on fairly thin, but it dries fast anyways. I don't think it takes as long as like some of the glitter pastes. It dries fairly quickly. And I've just gone ahead and cut that right down the middle, so I have a pink panel and a green panel on one sheet. And I did that because I'm going to be taking one of the panels and doing some white effects, and then on the other panel I'll do gold effects. So this one I'm using white gouache to do some paint splatters. And then I will also use the just water to make the watermark effects. And I do this on both of them. And then I'm just going to take my paintbrush and a splatter on both of the panels. And then I do as well use a white jelly roll pen to make some additional dots of white. And then I also take my Nuvo Crystal Drops in the white gloss color, and I do some drops on both of those panels as well. And so these are close-ups of the panel before I put the Nuvo drops on. So for the panel that I'm doing in mainly gold colors, I went ahead and grabbed my Gansai Tambi watercolors. And this is the Starry Night watercolor set. And this is Champagne Gold is the color that I'm using. And I just sprayed it down fairly liberally, and then kind of took my paintbrush and rolled it so that I got enough paint on my brush. And so here's the completed of the gold with for the gold one I used a gold paint pen by Craftsmart, and I also used Nuvo Dream Drops in Gold Luxe. So now for the sentiments that are going to be on the outside of the card, I am just using the Honeybee Stamps Season to Sparkle stamp set. And I also bought the coordinating dies, which I don't usually do, but I wanted to do something else with these, and so I went ahead and bought the dies, and I'm very glad that I did. They cut out the sentiments beautifully. When I got them, I was like, oh, how does that die fit? But you just have to kind of move the dies around till it matches up with your stamped sentiment, and they work perfectly. The only thing that I had to do was I could cut most of the stuff out at once except for one of the leaves and the strip sentiment, the banner die, because there wasn't enough room to have both of those dies cut at once. And so here I am just trimming a little bit off of or actually just totally trimming down the panels. And then the sentiments that I use inside of the cards, I use two different stamps. So two of the cards have the May All Your Christmas Wishes Come True stamp on the interior of the card. And then two of the panels will have the other one, which is Believe in the Magic of Christmas. And these stamps are by Kaisercraft, and one of them is called Let It Snow, and the other one is called Wonderland. As you can see on that one, it blurred a little bit, which I'm fine with because it just makes it look like it got a little bit of dimension. But I had stamped it. A lot of times I'll just hold my stamp down for a second, and I had held it, and then I moved my hand, and so it created another stamp of the sentiment. So one panel will have, or one sentiment set will have the green and the purple, and so there'll be one for each panel. And then I had some black VersaFine ink on my hand and got it on my card. And so I just grabbed my Tombow eraser, and so this one is the sand eraser on one side and the rubber eraser on the other. And then to adhere these to my cards, I didn't want a lot of dimension, and so I tried to find the thinnest foam that I have, which is this foam. It's super thin, and I think I probably got it from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a big stack, but it works perfectly because it's not going to give me too much to mention to put through the mail. And so I've gone ahead and cut shapes out, put those on the back of my sentiments, and adhered those on each side with some double-sided scrapbook.com adhesive sheets. And then to adhere each individual panel to my card base, I've gone ahead and grabbed some double-sided tape and am using that. Usually I use my tape runner, but I wanted something a little stronger since these panels were kind of, because they had some texture on them and also some water, they weren't completely flat, and so I wanted to make sure that they stuck very well. And so all of these sentiments for the Honeybee stamp set are heat embossed in gold embossing powder. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take those sentiments and attach those to the center of my card. And I'm super excited with the way these turned out. I really love the way they turned out. I love that gilding polish. And I really love the stamp and the die set as well. I think I'm going to make some gift tags with these, and it'll be super easy because I just have to stamp it out and then die cut, and it's a way to make some super quick, easy tags that aren't going to take a lot of time, which is very in short supply at this time of the year. And that'll do it for my 4 cards, 1 sheet. I hope you liked this video. If you did like it or find it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you would like to subscribe and you have not already done so, please go ahead and click that red subscribe button. As always, I read all my comments and I respond either with a reply or a heart to all of them. So please go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this set of cards. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you next time.